Hello. We continue to study loops, and in this lesson we will talk about the do-while loop. I advise you to definitely watch the previous lesson because sometimes I will compare them and they are basically very similar. Here is the syntax of the do-while loop. First you write the word do, then the statement, then the word while and condition. In the end, you must put semicolon. It works in the following way. First, the statement is executed, then the condition is checked. If it's true, then the statement is executed again and the condition is checked again. If it's false, then the program exits the loop. From this description, you should understand that the only difference between the do-while loop and while loop is that in the while loop the condition is first checked and then the statement is executed, and in the do-while loop the statement is executed first and then the condition is checked. In other words, the do-while loop works almost the same as the while loop, but the first iteration of this loop will always be executed, even if the condition is initially false. There are no situations where you need a do-while loop, but not a while loop. Wherever you use a while loop, you can use a do-while loop and vice versa. The only difference will be where some of the commands associated with these loops will be placed. This loop is added to the language only for the convenience of writing code in some situations, and that's all. Let's look at some examples of using this loop. There will be fewer of them this time because it works almost the same way as the while loop, which you should already know. In the first example, I wrote a simple loop in which I print text to the screen. Here, first the command is executed, then the condition is checked. And since it's false, the command won't be executed anymore. But notice that at least once, the commands are always executed in the do-while loop. Below, I wrote the same code, only with curly braces. If you need to put several commands in the do-while loop, they must be in curly braces. But even one command can be in curly braces, and I always use them in this loop because I just don't like the way this loop looks without curly braces. In the second example, the do-while loop is more useful because it implements a simple menu. We display a menu on the screen, then create a menu item selection variable, and then write our loop. In it, the user enters a menu item and we analyze it in the switch. Below we can see the loop condition, while the user isn't entering the value 3, for example. Let's run it, enter several values and see how the program works. If you try to rewrite this code through the while loop, you will either need to write the initial value of the choice variable so that it is compared with the number 3 in the condition, or write the menu item entry command twice, once before the condition and second time after inside the loop. In the third example, I wrote a program in which the user constantly enters numbers until he enters 0, and the program displays the sum of all the numbers. If we rewrite this code through the while loop, then we will need to write the number input command twice. And thanks to the do-while loop, the first time this list of commands will be executed even if the user immediately enters 0. Let's run the program and look at its operation. In principle, the essence of this loop is simple. First the commands are executed, then the condition is checked. Over time, with practice, you will independently feel where to use which loop. Now it's important to understand the difference between loops and the principle of their work. And that's the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching. I hope I helped you a bit. If you enjoyed this video, you can support me by liking this video, writing a comment under it, subscribing on the channel, becoming a sponsor of my channel to grant access to practice lessons, or donating me through the link in the video's description. All these things popularize my channel and motivate me to record more lessons for you. Goodbye.